Welcome to Compass Mining Podcast. I'm Nina Xiang. We've got our own Tatum Cave from Compass Mining with us today. Hi, Tatum. Welcome.
Hey, Nina. Thanks for having me.
So Tatum is our large-scale project lead and also oversees safety for our Denver service center. Longtime mining expert and a legend in the mining space with his own show. And we're going to talk about something really big today. Proto Rig, a Bitcoin mining system made by Jack Dorsey's Block Inc., designed and developed by engineers behind Apple and Tesla, a Bitcoin miner that's completely going to reshape the Bitcoin mining space. And also, I think what's amazing is that this project started back in 2021. So it's like a 4-year effort. And finally, we got to see and touch this new mining machine last week. So Tatum, what's your initial reaction to this new miner?
Well, initially, I was just super excited to have a little more competition in the mining world, because right now it is dominated by MicroBT and Bitmain with Antminers and WhatsMiners. So anything to add a little competition is going to be exciting in my eyes. And this is one of those manufacturers that releases something that actually looks like it's going to stand a chance up against these other giants in the space. And also, it's just completely different too. At the same time, the modularity of it, I don't even know if that's a word, but it sounds good. But the modular
design,
the modular design of the miner is brand new, and I've repaired many ASIC miners before, and you can do it. It's not like impossible, but Proto is making it to where you don't have to be a miner technician. You don't have to know every bit of what you're doing. It's essentially a plug and play miner with the different parts of it. I want to get my hands on one to actually see how easy it is to do these swaps with the hash boards, and but I mean, watching the presentation, it just looked like there was no effort opening it up, and it made me feel excited, but also a little nervous, because while this is new and it's exciting that we have something new is not always awesome, because we're used to what we're used to right now. I mean, most of our fleet is Antminers, and they all have a lot of the same things across all the models. Just recently with the S21 Pros, XPs, and Pluses is the first time that we've gotten a new form factor, well, at least a massive form factor change from Antminers, as opposed to like we've had some chassis that were like an inch longer and an inch shorter. This changes just everything altogether. And I am both excited and nervous about it.
That's really interesting, because I think, you as someone who, operates, repairs, maintains miners for years, and you could see that this, huge dramatic change coming into this space. And there's definitely, come with change, there will be uncertainty. There will be, new things you have to get used to. Perhaps like the entire mining facility or sites will have to be different somehow, right?
Yeah, that's one thing that I have a lot of questions on that weren't addressed. I messaged Thomas Templeton, asked him afterward. I was like, hey man, look, I know you got like a million.
Wait, who's Tom Templeton?
He's the head of product for BitKey and Proto at Block. Nice. And I told him, I said, I know you kind of had a big day, just launching Proto, nothing crazy. But I told him, I was like, hey, I have all of these other questions that are not just the basic, is it better than the last miner? Is it good? Like, I got nerdy questions. I have questions from a field deployment standpoint. And so I'm actually writing up a lot of questions to talk with him soon and hopefully get some answers from a deployment perspective, because one of the major things that I thought about was, how is this going to differ with these massive deployments that are moving all over the place. Things are changing every single minute. Like with Antminers and What's miners, I like to say that they're delicate, but they're not fragile. It's not the greatest framing for it, but what I mean is that you need to treat it nicely, and the nicer you treat it, the longer it'll run. But also, if you tip it over or something in the shelf, it's not going to be a catastrophic failure or something like that. With this modular design, I feel like that might be an issue. And,
right, it falls off the rack and it could just be in pieces.
Right. I mean, like, it doesn't look like there's any screws that would hold everything in place. And also, like, the fans, they rattle and create vibrations all the time. Like, I in one of our deployments, I remember I opened up a container and there were, I think, 3 or 4 miners that were hanging off of the shelf by their cord because they had rattled out. And we were like, this wasn't expected. So we had to put like little rubber feet on them. And, if something that's modular by design does that, then I feel like that's going to cause a lot more problems. And also, I'm going to get into my logistics side of things. The inventorying of these different parts, I don't know what that's going to look like. I know that they talked about fully open sourcing it all, so I don't know what that's going to mean on the market side of things. But yeah, there's just a lot of questions that weren't exactly answered, but the ones that we did get answered seem pretty promising.
So you talked about the feature where, parts like fans, like hash boards can be like, what they call dishwasher design, right? You plug in, you take out, they claim you can change fans in like under a minute, kind of like click in, click out. And, so that all sounds really nice. And I think that's one thing, people are excited about, reducing downtime because you don't have to take miners off rack. They claim to, potentially say goodbye to downtime, which may be a little bit too optimistic. But aside from this modular design, what other features are you really excited about?
Well, I am excited to check out the firmware and see what that looks like compared to the user interfaces that we're kind of used to, whether it's stock Antminer firmware or maybe it's a third party like Brains, Luxor, Vanish, something like that. I'm curious. It sounds like if they're doing all of this much different, if they're doing this many things differently with the hardware side of things, I'm very curious to see what the firmware side of things looks like. Is there going to be, customized tuning, customized fan speed? They mentioned something about Stratum V2 being implemented, but that's not, that goes deeper in the weeds. It's not necessarily a hardware thing for that. But, I mean, I just don't know what to even expect. Like, what's the ramp up time? Because I know whenever I am testing some Antminers, I know how long to expect to start seeing them hit the pool. Same thing with What's miners. Is this going to be faster, slower? Also, like, I am a little skeptical. Sorry, Jack Dorsey, about the hot swapping. I just don't know how that's feasible, where you'd be able to change components while it's running, which I was trying to see if that was what they meant or I misunderstood it, and I didn't get too much clarity on it, but it sounds like that's the plan. But from just an operational perspective, I don't know how that will work. If it is achievable, cool. I'm happy to be wrong. I just don't necessarily understand how that's going to work. But honestly, two main things I'm excited to do is see what I can do with it physically. And I'm going to, throw some on the rack and move them around while they're running. I love stress testing new machines. And the second thing is just seeing how it works on the other side of things in the firmware, in the user interface.
but also the software and what they call MDK, mining developer kit, are also another component to this overall what they call mining system. So they claim this is, first time the hardware, the software, the developer kit, the firmware are all going to be cohesive. And that's going to give you, squeeze out more efficiency and, better management and all that. Do you have any questions about that, or are you optimistic?
The way that it was framed in the keynote, sounded like they were wanting to do infrastructure as a whole. Like they weren't manufacturing just a new miner; they were manufacturing a whole kit, which is good. If you are building tools for mining operations and you're open sourcing them as well, then there's not too much bad you can say about that. I am curious to see how this all meshes together, because it's not going to, even when they hit market, you're not going to have purely Proto Rig facilities like that. That's going to be if it happens, it is going to be rare. So these things, we now have to figure out from an operator's perspective, how do these miners work with our other ones? And does anything else that Proto is offering, i.e. Proto Fleet, anything else from MDK, any of their anything else that they announce, like what is that going to do to our current setup? Are we going to be able to put these just, hey, we have some open slots where some ant miners used to be, let's just put them there and run it? Or are we going to have to, dedicate a container to them or something like that? One thing that did kind of push the brakes for me a little bit was the power supply, or power supplies, as I should say, because it's 3 4,000 watt power supplies with 2 C19 cords. So what you're doing essentially is you're now messing with the continuity of how many miners you can get off of one PDU. Whereas a 48 port, or not 48, sorry, a 24 port PDU can, in theory, have a 24 ant miners hooked up to it, where a 24 port PDU, I guess, would, hold on, what is 24 divided by 6? I'm stupid. 4. Yeah, 4. I couldn't do that math. It's early. But I don't know how that's going to scale on the power side of things. That's 1,200 watts for what I understand to be one unit. And that's another thing that I was confused about, was what is one unit? They had something on display that was what looked like 3 chassis. It had the 6 fans, but I never got full clarity of, was that one unit? Was that 3 units that they put together because of the modular design? And then I did see pictures in a rack of a lot of them lined up. How many units was that? There's still just some questions that I have, mainly just on the hardware and operation side.
Yeah, you raise a great question, which is how are these Proto Rig system going to be compatible with existing miners? And, that raised another question, which is, can you mix them in the same container on the same rack? Or is it going to be like, Apple's own ecosystem, and versus Androids? They're going to be like, kind of like guardrails or like fenced gardens kind of arrangements. So those are all great questions, and I guess we'll just have to wait for answers. But let's look at some of those key data or key metrics that they gave out for their miner. What they claim to be 14.1 joules per terahash, 800 terahash, and 1.5 times more power per rack foot. Of course, on top of the features we discussed before, swappable hashboards, air-cooled construction, free and open source software, and made in America. But so let's look at those numbers. You asked whether, the three parts, are they 3 units or 1 unit? I guess we don't know, but just look at those, 14.1 joules per terahash and 800 terahash. Does that give you anything to help you understand how this miner is going to be in terms of hashing power and efficiency?
Yeah, I did see what made me think that three of those chassis, what we saw at the keynote, was 1 unit, was whenever I did see that 800 some terahash and 1200 watt number. But that also, it doesn't yield. I don't think that 14.1 joules per terahash is going to be the sticker efficiency. They kind of were sneaky with their wording, saying up to 14.1. So I'm assuming that it might have just spiked to hit that metric when they were testing or something like that. But I think that we're going to see it a little higher, closer to 20, which is not going to be awful. I mean, the top of the line miners right now are just shy of 14 mark. I think I want to say that the S21 Pro and S21 XP are around 13 and a half, I want to say. So I can see where they're wanting to compete and look really attractive on that metric, because that's a lot of what people look for. They want to see the best efficiency. That's not always 100% what you need to base everything off of when you're looking at a miner, though. So that's what I'm not too worried about it. If they can give me something close to 14.1 joules per terahash, I'd be more than happy. But it does seem like a powerful machine. But with that kind of hash rate and those kind of power supplies, it's gonna take up a lot of power. So I am curious to see how many make up. Also one thing that I'm curious about is, like, is that power draw going to be consistent? Is this going to tune up and down and change? Because that's going to be a whole new world of different things. If you pull out one of the hash boards, which from what I understand, you're supposed to be able to do while it's running, what's that do to that power supply? Like, is it going to halve? And also, what about the heat that are coming off of those hash boards? That's one of the things I just don't understand. But this is going to change the scaling of mining, and it's hard to say if it's going to be objectively for the good or for the bad. I personally think that it's good to have some new ideas, because if Proto doesn't nail it the first try with this completely new revamp of what we expect a Bitcoin miner to be, either them or someone else is going to fix it later on and use something that they made. Like they're pioneering just a different concept altogether. We've been in this pattern of shoeboxes, is what everyone calls them. Like the next miner is not going to be something. The only thing that's going to change on the next ant miner is going to be a better efficiency, presumably. That's usually what it is. And it might weigh, 10 pounds more like they did with the S21 Plus. But they're not going to be like, oh yeah, you can now make it dance on command or something like that. Like, this is the first time we've seen something like new in the large scale mining world, and I'm excited for it. I think that it is going to be a good thing for the ecosystem.
Right. So one thing, like, I'm kind of confused is, so they the Proto Rig miner uses the most advanced chip technology, 3 nanometer chip process. Already the most advanced chip technology you could use nowadays. If they're using already the most advanced chip technology, then I guess they could really improve or optimize the efficiency piece of the puzzle. But they're not really, jacking that to the maximum they could. I wonder if you have any insights into that, and how does their chip comparing to other, popular miners in the market?
So that's one thing I haven't gotten that far into is the actual ASIC that they're using. I tried looking up some things, but I wanted more specs and I just couldn't, I wasn't able to find all too much. And I think that's because they're wanting to not release everything just all out at once. But I, I mean, if it's going to be comparable with the what I think the newest one from Antminer, the BM1370s, I'm pretty sure, if it's going to be comparable with that, then that changes way more because if these are American made chips, then look, I mean, we're in a exit velocity, basically. I know that, with this administration, we're wanting to mine in America and keep all the mining in America, sourcing and also operating. And I think that having those resources domestic is a huge positive because I mean here at Compass we sell parts and for miners and sometimes some of those parts if we need to put an order in we won't see them for 4 weeks maybe and then when they come in they're oh we only got 4 out of 20 boxes and the others may come may not that's a headache. Doing that domestically is going to change the game drastically, where we don't have these crazy lead times for literally anything that we need for these miners. So I am very excited to see how the Made in America part of that is going to play out. I hope that it's sustainable because I think one of the biggest needs that no one really is addressing in mining is just having abundant resources that are compatible for miners in the States.
Right. So that comes to the Made in America part. And we know that Proto designed their own chips. And because they are a team from Apple, Tesla, and all the other block units, and they have actually deep expertise in chip design. So they designed the chip, and the chip was manufactured by TSMC in Taiwan. And because that is the only foundry nowadays that's capable of doing the 3 nanometer process. And I think in one of the interviews, actually Will Foxley, who previously worked at Compass Mining, he just talked to also someone from Proto, and they mentioned they are looking forward to bringing the manufacturing part of their miner ASIC chip to the US. I would imagine that probably will be with TSMC's Arizona foundry. That's potentially looking at going up to the 3 nanometer chip process sometime next year. So it seems like all those pieces are in the roadmap, and it is completely possible that they're going to make the chip manufacturing happen in the US. In addition to, the design part is already done in the US by the team over at Block. So aside from Made in America part, that's going to be bringing a lot of benefits to the Bitcoin mining sector here in the US. How about any other, concerns or challenges you foresee that they could encounter once they bring this to market? And before that question, how long is it going to take for them to actually come to market? Because they haven't announced the pricing. It seems like there's still some time off from, really coming out to market.
Yeah, I want to say that I saw somewhere on the launch day, I want to say that I saw something about Q2 26, but I could be just making that up. But even so,
that sounds reasonable.
Even so, I don't know how realistic that is because, like you said, we still don't have a price. That was, obviously everyone wants to know how much does the newest miner cost, and they're very tricky with that. And I mean, props to them. That was a really great troll, giving us this whole suite of products and not telling us the price. But I mean, I understand like it's a very fluid. I can understand why they wouldn't immediately. Maybe they don't even know themselves, honestly, because if they're going to be, there's a lot of factors that I'm imagining are going to go into pricing. There's going to be that premium of being new, the newest with these metrics of efficiency. That's going to be something that bumps the price up. This is a completely new manufacturer that from a reputable parent company. I think that's going to also be something that drives the price up. However, then you look at like the manufacturing in America. Once that's fully over here, in whatever is currently being manufactured in the States, I think that that's going to drive the price down. I could have this all backwards as well. There's just a lot of factors that are different for these miners.
That's interesting. You're saying that if the manufacturing comes back to the U.S., it's going to drive the price down.
I think so. That's just my assumption, because I think that a lot of, I mean, there's a lot that goes into international business that I don't even fully understand, but having something that is relatively speaking local, and not having to deal with everything logistically, from shipping from wherever they're Taiwan, China, wherever they're going to be, wherever they get made, is going to cut a ton of time, is going to cut a ton of cost, and maybe they can see that as a way to make it more affordable, or maybe they could fluff it up a little more, but there's just so many questions on what they're going to be. I'm still just shocked that we don't have a price yet, but I can only imagine if I have to give a ballpark of what let's each throw a price out of what we think. I'm going to say ballpark of 15,000. I want to say for one unit.
So one unit with three, kind of like subunits.
Yeah, I get. So we'll call 5,000 per one, or
okay.
Yeah. I think it's going to be pretty close around there. I think.
Yeah, I would if I have to, you have to bet on it. I would bet on your guess here.
Don't do that. That's usually not a good idea.
So of course, like Proto, they previously had an agreement to sell their new 3nm chip to Core Scientific. It's a total of about 15 exahash per second of hash rate. And so there's not a lot of details in that, but at least we know that, their chip is being utilized by one of the big miners. And we would probably, it would be great if we can learn something, more about this partnership and how that chip performs if it has been put into, actually mining Bitcoin for some time. So, but there's not a lot of information there. But unless you know more on that.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest.
Partnership.
I didn't know about that until you said it. So.
Oh, okay.
Count me out of that
All
one.
Right. All right. Okay. So I think, are there anything else that we should discuss about this new mining system? Because we're running out of time. Anything else you want to add?
Not really, aside from, just my gratitude to Proto for, I know that this has been, like you said, it's been going on since around 2021, and the roadmap has changed a few times throughout the years. I remember reading the MDK releases a couple of years ago, and it's nothing like what we saw last week, and I think that's a good thing. So I want to just give my utmost thanks to Proto for actually doing the thing, getting it done. And also, I just think that this is going to make for a really good follow-up episode after I'm able to mess around with a few of these. Then I'll give you. Then you need to block out like 3 hours because I'm going to have a lot to talk about.
Definitely, would definitely have to do that. And also, like, one of my, I guess, thoughts about Proto Rig is they have gone through a super long research and development phase, lasting, almost 4 years, and also with a team, an elite hardware, software team based in the US. So I can't even imagine the cost that has gone into the research and development, and contrast that with what, those Chinese miner manufacturers, how their R&D would be like. And they probably, have dozens or hundreds of engineers and based in China, probably, design something new in a much, much shorter time frame. So when you look at the R&D cost here, it's just probably a difference of, several times at least. So if they are going to price this miner on a similar level to those the current leading miner manufacturers, then financially this is not going to be something that's probably going to be beneficial or profitable to Block. And I think they're making this their mission clear from all of their announcements that their primary goal is to expand, ensure decentralization for the Bitcoin's ecosystem. And so I think the underlined message there is that they're not looking for financial returns here. At least that's not their primary objective. So just for that, like, huge, like, probably we should all say thank you to Jack Dorsey and Block for doing this, because putting financial returns secondary is not something that you usually see in today's world.
Yeah, it's this is a major event for a multitude of reasons. Like you just said, there's layers to this, and I can only hope that this is just the beginning, and we're going to see more of these types of announcements and companies pop up, and I encourage that. I want competition because at the end of the day, we're all working on the same mission. Like, there's healthy business competition between companies, but at the end of the day, they're still my boys, Like, I talk to people who work for other mining companies all the time and get help from them. I give them help. So this is I'm getting excited. I just got goosebumps thinking about just everything that's going to come off of this. So, super excited.
Yeah. And I think one thing we didn't talk about, we'll talk about next time, which is how this miner is going to be used in home solo mining. The whole objective is decentralization. So hopefully maybe there is another angle that, this is going to be something more suitable or that works out better for solo miners at home. So hopefully we can talk about this next time. But for now, thank you so much, Tatum, for sharing all your insights. It's been really interesting talking to you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks for tuning in to the Compass Mining podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media for the latest updates, insights, and more episodes coming out. And stay tuned. We'll be back soon with more conversations from the front lines of Bitcoin mining.